Welcome to Influential Entrepreneurs, bringing you interviews with elite business leaders and experts, sharing tips and strategies for elevating your business to the next level. Here's your host, Mike Saunders.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Influential Entrepreneurs. This is Mike Saunders, the Authority Positioning Coach. Today we have with us Alli MacKenzie, who is a mom mentor, spiritual teacher, inspirational speaker, and published author. Alli, welcome to the program.
Hi, thanks so much for having me today.
Hey, so you have got a lot going on, and I'm excited to learn from you. Give us a little bit of the background of your entrepreneurial journey, and then what led you to this point in your career.
Absolutely. Well, I've been in the coaching industry for just about 8 years now, and I really sort of started on the personal fitness training side of things. So I was really into, moving your body, getting comfortable with your body, feeling good in your skin, and that's really kind of what led me to sort of start in that arena. Now, as I was in the fitness industry, I kind of realized, okay, you know what, nutrition has a really big role in how we are functioning as humans, and that sort of kind of piqued my interest, so I sort of started learning about nutrition. I received my applied nutrition science diploma, and felt like I had, really good pairing to provide my clients. Now, while I was sort of increasing and working towards building that career, my partner and I were actually trying to conceive. And it wasn't exactly an easy road for us like it is for some people. So, we had a few hiccups along the road, and we actually ended up going through IVF. And while that was all going on, I felt like it was really kind of weighing on me in terms of like my confidence and how I was showing up in the world. I kind of felt like so many people can do this. This is something that humans are meant to do. Why are we having such a hard time, right? So it really kind of like just was weighing on me. But we were very lucky that we went through IVF the first time, and we were blessed with our beautiful baby boy. He'll be 4 in November. And after we had our son, I was blessed with a beautiful bout of postpartum depression. So that kind of added to those feelings I was already having sort of going into the pregnancy of kind of feeling like I wasn't enough and really struggling with my self-worth. So then I kind of felt like, oh my goodness, I had such a hard time getting pregnant. Now, how am I going to do this mother thing? Like, this is so much harder than I thought. I kind of sort of look at that as the beginning of my spiritual awakening. I sort of had this moment, this one day where I kind of felt like giving up. I felt like, how the heck am I going to do this? I don't think I can do this. I'm not meant to. Like, I think maybe the world would be better off without me. And I had all these really kind of heavy thoughts going through my mind. But this one day, while I was sort of, in that darkness, I'll call it, I received what I call is like a download. It was like this spiritual download where all of a sudden I kind of felt this like bubbling coming up from within me. And this message sort of just kind of came within my mind's eye, and it said, you are infinite potential. You have infinite potential. Why are you just sitting here feeling like you can't do anything when you can do anything? And, as this washed over me, I suddenly realized that up until that point, I wasn't even really living. Even through my entrepreneurial journey, I was always very much focused about, okay, yes, I want to serve, but it was from like a people-pleasing perspective, not necessarily, okay, what does my soul need right now? How can I provide from that real heart-centered space? So that was really kind of the beginning of me entering the spiritual world. And from there, it really just blossomed. I realized that there's so many people on the planet right now who are sort of going through this internal crisis, of like feeling like their beliefs have guided them this far, but then realizing that some of their beliefs might not be serving them anymore, and that's okay. And, that spirituality really is what we want it to be. There's no right or wrong way to practice it. So the more that we learn about ourselves and what our soul really needs, the more that we're really able to tap into our purpose and operate from that heart-centered space. So that's where now, I'm really, really passionate about assisting moms specifically, but I mean, really, it's just any beautiful beings who are looking to experience more peace, love, and joy in their lives, while also assisting them in mitigating those feelings of stress and uncertainty. And I do that through Intuitive Akasha Readings, through Intuitive Reiki Therapy, and mentorship programs. So, I mean, that's really like, that fuels me up. That makes me feel so good, knowing that I'm helping others navigate through, those dark, uncertain times.
It's interesting you brought it up that way in your personal experience, because so many times
Right.
you watch on Shark Tank, like, hey, I needed this, I couldn't find it, so I made it. Or I had this problem,
Right.
couldn't find the solution, so I fixed it. And so many times that is the case where you just have, and you're like, if I have this need, problem, issue, opportunity, maybe other people do as well. So I think that helps you to build out your story of when you do take it to the world. So I think that's a really neat observation that you bring up.
Yeah, thank you. And, it's really about our personal story, and yeah, like you said, so often, there's a need that you have, so you come up with a solution. And that's absolutely golden because, we have so many wonderful inventions now that came from that perspective. But I think true connection really comes from, sharing your why. Well, why did you need that? Why did you want to invent that? Why do you want to share with the world what you're so passionate about? And I think that's where we really connect on that level of unity, where we're reminded that we're not simply alone floating, in this abyss, that we are so interconnected more than we maybe have even realized.
Yeah. Well, so let's go to the point where you had that realization for yourself, decided that this could be something that other people could benefit from as well. What did you do at that point? Did you, hang the shingle, so to speak, or did you just start talking to people in your day-to-day life and then it just kind of blossomed from there?
Well, it was a little bit of both. So I had actually sort of a couple months after I had this spiritual awakening, a friend of mine had sort of like a group intuitive reading at her house. She had a medium come in and she was reading all of our friends, and she kept turning to me and asking me if I was a healer. And I said, well, I don't know. I mean, I'm a personal trainer. I'm a nutrition coach. I suppose I assist people in healing. And she kept saying, well, no, there's something else. Like, there's something on this energetic side that's calling you. Have you ever thought of practicing Reiki? And my response was, well, isn't Reiki just for, special intuitive people? And she said, well, Reiki is for everyone. Like, anyone can practice Reiki. So I tend to be, very much like a go-getter, and if someone gives me an idea, I'll usually run with it. So about 2 weeks later, I enrolled in a Reiki Practitioner course, and I received my certification in level 1 and 2 at that point. And as I was practicing Reiki, I was noticing that my intuition was growing, that it was developing, and I was starting to somehow be connected with other people who had been experiencing what I experienced. So it was sort of this like really organic flow of, yes, I was taking, inspired, appropriate action in my life. And then the universe was sort of delivering on the other end people who were needing what I was creating. So from there, with the Reiki, I then became a Reiki Master teacher, and I started practicing, entering the Akasha. And from there, it just really created this really beautiful combination of services, I'll say, that, really allows individuals to learn about themselves on a deep level. And I feel like that's where a lot of that healing occurs, is when we're ready to dive deep and find out, okay, what is at the root of this either physical ailment or, emotional issue that really needs to be addressed.
Yeah. Yeah, that's I think that you said a couple things that made me remember to go deeper. Number one is, what's at the root of the issue? But number two, sometimes people don't even know, what it is that they want to change, or they know what they don't want. I don't like this, fill in the blank, but I think that sometimes you need that third party perspective, looking and talking to them and assessing and going, well, what about this? And kind of really drilling down deep. Do you ever talk with someone that you've discovered that kind of with?
Oh, yeah, most definitely. And that's where the Akashic readings really come into play, because when we enter the Akasha, it's basically like our big book of life. So, we're able to access information from, all souls, their past lives, their present experiences, and their future opportunities. Now, when I'm doing a reading, obviously I'm only accessing that person's records. And, you always need to ask permission before, of course. But when we're entering the Akashic records, that's where we really get to find out why, because sometimes there might be, ancestral trauma that you are dealing with in this life that isn't even necessarily from this lifetime, but it has to do from your spiritual DNA, and you have brought it into this life experience. So we look at that, or it might be, certain relationships that you had in past lives that you maybe didn't quite learn the lesson you were meant to. So it's a matter of, that might be why you always look for abusive partners or, emotionally unavailable partners in this life. So it really just depends, right? I mean, sometimes, it is only from this particular life experience where, you went through something super traumatic as a child and you just haven't been able to really deal with it. And, when we're able to go deep that way too, it's really about providing people with this level of self-understanding. Like you say, sometimes we don't even know why we are a certain way. And when we start to ask some of these really deep questions, as to, well, what are your fears? When do you feel like that shows up? How does it show up in your life? And what happens when you experience those fears? Does it stop you in your tracks? Do you tend to sort of, step away from people? Do you isolate? And the more that we really ask those deep-rooted questions, that's where we start to get those different answers. I think it's a matter of people just really being unsure as to where to even start or what questions to ask. And, sometimes we do need the assistance of a mentor or someone who has been through it or at least understands the process so that we don't have to, be stuck feeling like we're in the middle of nowhere, not knowing where to even turn for answers.
Yeah, 100%. And I know you do a lot of work with people on helping them to find and discover a more joy-filled life. What would you say is the number one step or principle that would lead someone down that path?
Absolutely. I think that truly comes down to leading with love, and when we're able to truly drop into our heart space and out of our busy minds for a little bit, that's when we start to really tap into that innate soul level wisdom that really acts as that compass, assisting us in our journey going forward. Because, yes, the ego is there to keep us safe and, certain beliefs are there to keep us safe. But when we are too caught up in the mind and we're too caught up in overanalyzing and really just trying to nitpick every single experience, I mean, we could literally drive ourselves cuckoos. I've been there where, well, maybe I should have done this or I could have done this. But, trusting that everything unfolds the way it's meant to, even if you feel like maybe you had a missed opportunity along the way, you showed up in the best way that you knew how to at that time. So leaning into trust and really leading with love and dropping into your heart space and, truly just listening to what your heart wants to communicate with you and being able to turn down both that external and internal, chitter chatter.
Yeah. Well, number one, because most of the time, many times that internal chitter chatter is inaccurate.
Yes. It tends to it wants to keep us in the confines of our comfort zone, keep us right where we understand and know everything, because uncertainty seems scary, but uncertainty is where the magic happens. That's where you truly get to live and experience life.
100%. We'll talk a little bit about your book. I know that you wrote a unique approach to showing people love about Robbie the robot steals the moon.
Yeah. So my son really was the inspiration for this story because he is a beautiful, smart, bright, a little bit stubborn firecracker. And, and as I was, in the early days of raising him, we'll say, I mean, I'm still in the early days, but, I was just realizing how important this idea of infinite potential and interconnectedness is. And, my goal with this story is to help parents connect with their children on that level and to start teaching them those lessons when they are truly young and they are those little sponges and they're soaking up everything that we tell them as the only truth there is. So, that really was my goal, was to give parents a way to share this message, but to also start teaching children at a very young age that they truly are infinite potential and that when you lead with love, that you are shown the way. And, with Robbie, he goes through this journey of, stealing the moon, but he's coming from a really good place. His intention behind it was to be helpful. He wasn't doing it out of, being just mischievous and wanting to, mess with the moon. He was doing it from this place of love. And his relationship with the moon teaches him that even though him and the moon are very different, that at the root of them both, they are truly living in their passion and they are following their heart regardless of kind of where it takes them. And that if certain lessons do come along the way or certain challenges, that they are actually lessons and they are there to teach us and to guide us and to help us grow and evolve, because we're really not meant to be the same. We are meant to evolve and grow. And when we have love as our compass, you are sure to experience all the abundance that you wish for.
Yeah. Well, it's been really great chatting with you. What's the best way that people can reach out, learn more about your work, and maybe pick up a copy of your book?
Absolutely. Well, you can find Robbie the Robot Steals the Moon on Amazon. You can just type that in and it'll show up. I do actually have another Robbie book coming out in probably November, so that should hit Amazon in November as well. And I'm going to keep the title of that one secret just for now, but just kind of planting the seed. And yeah, if you want to connect with me, you can find me on my website. So that's at allimackenzie.ca. And I'm on Instagram, so that's at and then FOR_the_mums_. So you can find me on both of those platforms.
Awesome. Well, Alli, thank you so much for coming on today. It was a real pleasure talking with you.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it, Mike.
You've been listening to Influential Entrepreneurs with Mike Saunders. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.influentialentrepreneursradio.com.